Terry Brown looks back at working at the famous Olympic Studios in London. In this clip, working with Barbra Streisand, Wild Thing, the Troggs, and a lot more in this clip with Terry Brown. A Rock History Music.
You had a job at an advertising agency and you didn't like it very much. And so where did that lead to? The studio.
Yeah, it was, we used to, I was working in the mailroom. In order to get higher up the ladder, you really need to have a public school education in England, which I didn't have. But my father was in advertising and quite successful. So I thought, well, you know what, I'll do this because I left school, so I had to do something. So I ended up in the mail department. And we used to pick up the mail for Peter Aldersley, who was running this radio show, Radio Luxembourg, and I believe it was run out of London, but it was called Radio Luxembourg. And the young fellow who used to come and pick up the mail for him, his assistant, had an opportunity to get into a studio. And I was saying, wow, that sounds really fantastic. I wish you the best of luck. And if you don't get it, give me a shout. Anyway, he didn't get it because the pay was like $10 a week. It was ridiculous. And he was married with a child on the way. So he came back the following day and he said, I couldn't take that job. He said, but Keith would love to see you. This Keith Grant, who's one of the top engineers in London. And I said, oh, great. Okay, I'll pop over and see him. Still didn't really register. I went over and saw him. We hit it off. I started the following Monday. It was amazing. And I've never looked back.
Was it Olympic Studios? Because you were there.
Yeah, it was the original Olympic on Carlton Mews, just off Baker Street.
Insane considering in 1964. I mean, that's when I was 4. That's when we started hearing all the British invasion, everything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was involved in a lot of that. I mean, I got to record Substitute with The Who, and I was on sessions with Donovan and Marianne Faithfull, PJ Proby, you name it. Barbra Streisand. I mean, the list is huge.
Yeah, I read that the Streisand thing. I can't help but stop there. How did the Streisand thing happen?
Well, she wanted to record in London. She brought over an American arranger, and I was very young at the time, and it's a long time ago, so I don't remember all the details. But she brought them over. They hired the London Symphony and or members thereof, and we recorded the album in a few days. Yeah, right, straight off the floor. She sang live, 4-track.
Do you remember the album?
I did, and as soon as I mentioned it, I forgot it.
I'll look it up.
It's oh geez, no, I'll waste time. If I think of it in a minute, I'll tell you.
What about the Who?
Lord's Prayer. I think it was called the Lord's Prayer.
I'm curious about your parents. Does it make sense you got to where you got in your career based on where your parents are? And half the people I talk to, they go, oh God, my parents weren't musical at all. What were your parents like?
My mother was, she encouraged me to play piano. So I was playing classical piano and reading music at that time, which I completely dropped and forgot once I got in the studio working with professional musicians. I was like, oh my God, I don't play piano. So, but yeah, she was very influential in that. And my father, being in advertising, got me into that advertising gig, which got me the job in the studio. I mean, life is like that. I'm a firm believer in destiny.
One more thing about the Troggs Wild Thing. I always looked at that song, dun, dun, of that influenced. I mean, that was influenced by other things, but it also influenced so many riffs for so many other people. That song, no one does not know that song.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
I know, it's a great tune. I love it. It's so much fun to do too.
Yeah, by the way, yeah, I still have a Studer. I think it's an A807.
Oh, you have a Studer. I thought you meant I
do.
speaking in Bill Simzik's voice.
No, no. I still have one in my basement, and those things now sell for $10,000 on eBay. I'll never sell it, but it's insane.
Really? Well, like a 2-track or?
It's just a 2-track. It was used at the 96 K Light in Edmonton where I started. And my boss, Len Tucson, one day told me, he says, "Do you want to buy it?" And I looked it up, and I said, "Len, I can't afford this. It's like 10 grand on eBay." And he says, "No, I can give it to you for $1,000. I fired you. I fired you in '84.
Wow.
There you go."
That's
Anyway.
great. That's
Do you
great.
have you kept any of that you don't keep that stuff? It's heavy and old.
No, I bought a lot of it when I was younger. I bought an A80 24-track and ended up selling it. And I have a Revox now, which I never use. I mean, I moved into the digital era back in 82 when we did Moving Pictures. That was one of the first digitally mixed albums. And I've never looked back. I've stayed digital. I've done one analog mix since then. And that's like, what, 40 years ago?
I remember we used to record my show, Cross Canada Report. We were syndicated across the country. And I went to Damon Studios in Edmonton, and they had a Neve board. And I remember thinking I was like, ooh, what's going on here? Like, just thinking, I don't know. This is.
I do have a Neve.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a Neve 8816, which is like a rack mounted 16 input mixing bus.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds fantastic.
We'll have more from producer Terry Brown in the next few days. In this series, you'll find out about new things he's working on as well. If you want to support the channel, there are links in the description. You can make a PayPal donation, or you can join our Patreon, get early access to all our videos. Like our videos, comment on them. We read all the comments. Subscribe to our channel and share our videos on social media. We'd appreciate that. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. Take care of yourself.